Hey guys, it's Sam with The Blind Spot. So the other day I got a question on one of my videos. Someone was asking me for tips and tricks getting started in YouTube, making videos on YouTube. I think specifically someone with low vision making videos on YouTube. So that's what today's video is about. And right off the bat, my first tip is that you don't need fancy equipment, $2,000 light rigs and soft boxes and $1,500 DSLR camera, Canon 5 Mark D, S, whatever. You don't need that. Right now I'm just using my Note 4, sitting on a tripod. I'm just in my room. There's a window right behind the camera that's giving me good light, and that's all you need, really. Those are the basic tools for making videos on YouTube: a camera and something to record, a subject, and in this case, me. Now, if you want to get a little bit more fancy, you can. Now, this might look a little bit better. I've changed some things up. And now I'm going to talk about a couple tips to keep in mind for anybody making YouTube videos, not just low vision, but for anybody, and I'll get to low vision stuff later. There's several things that I always think about, or I try to always think about when I'm making a video. Number one is camera, of course, but as I said before, you can use a cell phone camera. The quality is still really, really good, and you don't need to go out and spend a ton of money on an expensive camera. I currently am using the Canon G7X. That's the one that's recording right now. It's a full frame sensor camera, but it's somewhere in between a point and shoot and a DSLR. I've got full manual control on this camera, but it doesn't have removable lenses like a DSLR does. It takes full 1080p, 60 frames per second video. It even has time lapse, so it's a really awesome camera. It's got a flip up screen so you can do selfies, and it's great for vlogging. I have a hard time seeing myself, but it does help. So I recommend that one. It's a little expensive, but it is a great camera. But as I said, camera isn't the most important thing. Probably the most important aspect of making video is lighting. So right now I'm just in my bedroom, all the lights are off, and all I have is this window behind the camera. And that would be an example of a one light setup. And it works great, especially for vlogging like this, it works great. I do have other lights, and once again, you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money on lighting. You don't have to get the soft boxes and the big light rigs. You can get hardware store lighting that works great. I'll show you what I have. So I have two of these clamp lights, and these things are great. They're completely adjustable, and they have a clamp, so it clamps onto just about anything you need it to, a light stand or a drawer in my dresser, a curtain rod maybe if I need a light real high. So these things are great. And now I just have a compact fluorescent bulb in here. I think it's a 100 watt bright bulb is what you want. I also have two of these. Now this is just a 2-foot fluorescent light fixture that I had a buddy wire up for me. I have a friend who's an electrician, and he just put a cord onto it so that I just plug it in, it turns on. I also attached these little hooks so that I can hang it from stuff, and that works great. That puts off a very soft yellow light, a warm light. My compact fluorescent here is a very hard, I think I've got a daylight balanced light. Kelvin, it's probably right around 5,000 or 6,000 Kelvin. And now another tip with lighting is, as I said, there's two types of light in video and photography. There's hard light and soft light. And hard light creates very sharp shadows. It's very dramatic. If you think about a movie where the villain steps into the light and he has very harsh shadows and the light's coming from this side, that would be hard light. Soft light is more for beauty, beauty photography, and it's great for vlogging. Any light that isn't diffused or is directional like this, because of this reflector dish here, it directs the light straight out and doesn't let it spread very much, then that's going to be harsh light. That's why photographers hate to photograph people outside in the daylight. on a clear day because the sun is a very small point of light shining down, so you get very harsh shadows. That's why they love, if they're gonna shoot outside, they love overcast days like today. Today is an overcast day because the clouds diffuse the light, spread it out. That's why this one is soft light, because these bulbs shoot out everywhere, shoot light out everywhere. So that's why these are great. I have 2 of these and I'll set them up on either side of the camera at me. So I have nice soft light on both sides. I'll oftentimes use this light as a rim light or a hair light up high behind me. So it gives a cast of light here on the shoulders and the top of the head. That helps to separate me from the background. And I could really go on and on about lighting. There's tons of videos online about how to properly light people. 3-point light setup, 1-point, 2-point, 4-point. So, you know, do some research. It's really not too complicated when you kind of start to get a grasp on it. But lighting is very important. That can, if you've ever watched videos on YouTube and the person's super dark and it's really bright behind them, or they just have a light above them, the only thing lighting the scene, so there's lots of shadows, it's really hard to watch those kind of videos. Really, really good light is what's important. Next is audio. I just use, a lot of times I'm lazy, I'll use the audio microphone on the camera, the built-in one. I have a lavalier clip, I have a desktop microphone, sometimes I'll use those, but a lot of times it's just laziness. This is actually a really pretty good microphone. Hopefully it's not, I've got a fan going, hopefully it's not picking up wind noise, but this is a good microphone and it does the trick, especially if I'm really close to it, so I oftentimes just go with that. But you'll probably notice a difference between this audio and the audio that was recorded on my phone earlier. This audio is probably much better. So just keep that in mind. If you're not happy with your audio, you can get inexpensive microphones that plug into a phone or plug into a computer as a recording device. You don't have to get one of these $600 lavaliers that have wireless receivers and all this kind of stuff. There are cheaper alternatives. Now another tip is location. Think about your location. In the first clip, I purposely left, I had some laundry sitting on the bed. There was a pile of storage containers on my dresser behind me, and I purposely left those in the shot to illustrate the fact that you always have to be aware of your location. Not only your location as far as good lighting and things like that, and interesting locations, but be aware that the viewer, you, are not just looking at me, the subject, but you're also seeing everything behind me. So, you know, be aware of that. Don't leave dirty dishes sitting on the counter behind you. Just take a few minutes, clean things up. I got rid of those containers back there. I got rid of the laundry. It just cleans things up, makes it look a little nicer, because trust me, people will be looking behind you to see what's going on in the background. Now you've got your video, you've got your story, it can be, you can talk about whatever you want. It could be beauty channel, it could be gaming channel, it could be a vlogging channel, kind of like mine, helpful tips. I've got kind of a mishmash of a channel here. I do a lot of different things, but decide what you want to talk about, record it, get your video, your lighting, your audio, your location, get all that set. Now you need to take your video into an editing software. I use Sony Vegas Pro. I'm trying to learn Adobe Premiere because it has more features and it ties in with Adobe After Effects really well, which I also use Adobe After Effects. But Sony Vegas Pro right now is what I use. There are free options out there. Windows Movie Maker is free. I think, what is it? Mac has a built-in one. I forget what it's called. Final Cut, maybe? Yeah. So there are free options. Windows Movie Maker is great for just basic editing. You can't do a lot of layering of audio tracks and sound effects on top of video and video within video. I mean, you can't do a lot of that stuff, but if you're looking for just a basic edit, that works great. I started on that before I moved to Sony Vegas Pro. But Sony Vegas is easier to comprehend and learn than Adobe Premiere. So that's kind of why I went to that first. Now I'm trying, now that I've kind of got a grip on that and I know how to do a lot of stuff on that, I'm trying to parlay that over to Premiere and learn that. It's very difficult though, it's a complicated program. There's also free apps you can get on your phone to edit videos. I've done that before. It's hard because it's a tiny little screen, but you can do it if you need to. But editing is very important, especially for someone like me, because I tend to pause in between the sentences and kind of gather my thoughts. You know, people with good vision can set up a little teleprompter. They could put up a little iPad or something like that with everything written out that they're going to talk about, and they could sit there and read that. And it works great for them. I can't do that though. I have to kind of come up with it as I'm going, and it's very difficult. And sometimes I'll stop and think about what I'm going to say. And sometimes, oftentimes, I say, so you need good lighting, and you don't have to spend a ton of money on lighting. And then I'll cut those together. I'll edit out the pauses. I'll edit out a lot of the ums. You know, I mean, like this is like what we do. A lot of people say like all the time. So you can cut out all that junk, and it really makes you sound much better, and it helps people not get completely bored out of their mind watching your videos. And that brings me into another tip, is to be entertaining. Not entertaining, you don't have to be one of these over-the-top characters, but nobody's gonna want to watch for 10 minutes somebody that, you know, and this is some kind of light, I'm not sure, well, let me see what kind of light this is. Well, I don't really know, but I think I got it from someplace, where did I get it from? You know, nobody's gonna wanna watch that. So get all those details done before you start recording so that you can sound much better. This is an excellent light. I got it from Lowe's. It was about $8, $8 to $12. You can clamp it on many things. It's very directional, you know. So get those things out of the way. Talk loudly, project so everyone can hear you. Have inflection in your voice, you know. Just don't be boring is the main thing. Just don't be boring. Now, as far as starting YouTube with low vision, as I said before, you can't do teleprompters or anything like that. That is very difficult. I can't really see the camera, so every now and then I'll have to kind of look off to the side and see where the camera is again, and then look back towards that way, because eye contact is very important in our culture, and it drives me crazy. I wish it weren't, because I can't do eye contact, but people who are watching feel like you're not talking to them unless you're looking directly at them, and it's very difficult when you have a huge blind spot and everything disappears that you look right at. So every now and then I'll kind of look off to the side and kind of get my bearings of where the camera is again, and I think yeah, there you go. And I'll often edit that out so that it just looks like I'm constantly looking at the camera. So that's the tough part you have to kind of get used to. It's very difficult to sit in a room by yourself talking to imaginary group of people that are not right there, and get comfortable with that. But the more you do it, the easier it gets, and the nerves go away, and it just becomes more natural. Editing takes forever, especially me. If you're one of these people that can get out a whole video in one take without any mistakes, and you just very eloquent speaking, and you don't have to think about what you're gonna say and all these things, awesome. You're gonna have a much better time at editing than I do. I'm not one of those people. I pause, as I said before, I'll pause and I'll think about what I gotta say next, and then I'll say it, and then I'll pause, and so I have to edit a lot. So editing takes a long time. Recording videos takes a long time. Editing takes a long time. Setting up your location takes a long time. So if you're gonna make videos on YouTube, and if you're gonna make more than one a week, then it is a bit of a time commitment. It definitely is. And that's just something to keep in mind. But you can absolutely make videos on YouTube if you have low vision. I have low vision. I know people with vision much worse than mine that make videos, and some people with no vision at all make videos just fine on YouTube. So it can be done. You might need some help in the editing process or the uploading process, you know, from someone that can see better than you, but it absolutely can be done, and you absolutely do have an interesting story to tell and a worthwhile information to give out there, and people will want to hear it. Now, another aspect of editing is color grading. A lot of people don't color grade, and it can be important. Your camera does a decent job of getting the colors right, but it tends to put out a flat image. And what a flat image is not very contrasty shadows versus the highlights. The midtones all are a very similar color. So within your editing software, you can go in and you can correct that and make it look better. Make the blacks blacker, make the highlights brighter, make the colors a little bit more saturated so they kind of pop. You have to remember that people are going to be watching this on either a monitor or a lot of times a phone or a small tablet screen. And so if your camera puts out a flat image and then they're watching it on a screen that maybe doesn't have the best resolution, then you want to kind of bump up your colors and everything. It's very similar to gymnasts and figure skaters and dancers on a stage or very far away. They put the heavy makeup on and the very bright lipstick and bright makeup, because at that distance, people that can see anyways, they won't see the makeup if it's a very subtle makeup job. So they always put on heavy makeup so that they can see the makeup at that distance. It's something very similar to that. You gotta bump up your colors, bump up your contrast, so that when people are watching the videos on those little screens and stuff, they can see it better. But hopefully that helps, guys. If you have any more questions about making videos, the process, editing, my camera settings, because like I said, I go full manual on my camera. I don't do auto ever. So if you want information on what settings I use, just please give me a comment down below, ask me a question, Facebook, my email, theblindspot.sam@gmail.com. I'll be happy to share any of my information with you. Thank you very much for watching, guys. This is Sam with The Blind Spot. I will see you next time.